Serenity and this is my channel, and today we're joined here by Ginger and Nebula. This is my guide for everything you need to know before you visit Boston, Massachusetts. So I was actually up in Boston for a week apartment hunting, and while I was there, I created this list. I was up and down and all over that city. I walked all over that city from the very top in the north to the south. I took the orange line all the way up, all the way down. I'm someone who, before I go on a trip, I research so much, probably like more than I should. Before this trip, I put in at least 20 hours of videos, things to see, things to visit, what to know, everything like that. And even then, a lot of those videos did not cover what I saw here. I'm someone, when I travel, not every minute needs to be counted down, but every day we have a plan. I'm very type A. I have a list of things to do every day, so I want to be as well prepared when I get there to know what I need to do. And this video is for people like that, or if you are going now, a couple years from now, that way you aren't surprised by a lot of these things. So to start, Google Maps is your best friend. Point blank period. For two reasons. Google Maps, one, is so much better than Apple Maps in large cities. So I know I use Apple Maps in my hometown in Texas just because there literally is nothing to do in this town. So it's a lot more accurate than Google Maps. But in bigger cities like New York and Boston, Google Maps is your best friend. It's going to tell you the traffic a lot more accurately because a lot of people use Google Maps. So even when you're on the app and using transportation, public transportation, it will ask you questions like, hey, was the tea late today? By how much? Was it on time? Was our prediction correct? That way they can take your information that you give them and then send it out to other people who might be trying to get on the T 20 minutes from now, and now they know, oh, it's running 2-3 minutes behind. Also with Google Maps, this is a tip I learned from the tripod and it just clicked. So if you're like me and you're type A, pin everything you want to do. It sounds weird, but let me explain. So I had a list of things I wanted to do, and a lot of them had multiple different locations. So I wanted to go to Trader Joe's, I wanted to go to Regina's Pizzeria, I went to Tatte, the bakery, a bunch of different places, and even some attractions where there is only one location, like the Boston Tea Party Museum, Quincy Market, duck boat tours, all of those I pinned on my Google Maps account, and I separated it into two things. One, places to eat, and two, places to go. With those, that way if I am ever, let's say I for some reason am in the North End, which is a part of Boston, getting dinner, and I just want to open my Google Maps and see any of the places I want to go to, are they near me? And hey, yeah, they actually are. And this happened to me when I was having dinner one night in the North End. Out of curiosity, I was like, I think Mike's Pastry is somewhere near here. They have multiple locations, but I think they're somewhere near here. I opened up Google Maps, and because I pinned every single location in the city, when I opened Google Maps, I could see, oh, actually, there is one the street over from me, from where I'm at right now. And oh, they close in an hour, I can make it. That is going to be life-changing. I never felt lost. There was times where I was in someplace, somehow I ended up in someplace, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is near me. And it was. We'll talk about Google Maps again in a bit, but you can get a lot done. I mean, a lot done. Boston is a very big city, but a lot of the tourist attractions are kind of near each other. So on my first full day there, we did 3 extra things that were not on my list till later in the week. I mean, on my first day, I was touring my college. I had lunch at Quincy Market and dinner somewhere else. On top of that, we were able to go to dinner I had set for another day in the week, go to the duck tour that I had set for another day in the week, and also see Modern Pastry, which I had set for another day in the week. These are all things I got done in one day. I saw people kind of stay out a little late. I would say about 10, 11 is when people start kind of heading back to their homes, hotels, or whatnot. It is summer, so the nightlife is a lot better, but I was walking around the North End after getting dinner there at 10 o'clock, and it was still up and popping. It was still pretty busy, so it is pretty safe, and I was up from like 8 a.m. to 10, 11 p.m. out and about. So no, you can get a lot done. If I had known this going in, I would have actually planned even more things on my to-do list because I didn't expect to get so much done so quickly, especially since a lot of things are close together. So with Quincy Market, which is like a giant food hall, a couple streets up is the aquarium. So if you want to go to the aquarium, but the aquarium is where I chose to go to be picked up for the duck tour. Literally, it's right there. And if you know anything about Boston, it's about seafood. In front of the aquarium is Legal Seafood, which is one of the biggest restaurants. You can kill basically 3-4 birds with one stone. You can go to Quincy Market, then go to the aquarium, then get dinner at Legal Seafoods, and then go on the duck boat tour. That is what I would have planned 2 days of activities, you can get done in like half a day. You need to learn how to use the T. The MBTA, it is the subway system, the train system, whatever you want to call it. You need to learn how to use it. Everyone uses it. It's pretty easy to use. Again, with Google Maps, when you open Google, wherever you're at, literally just type in the location you want to go and it gives you options of you can take the T, you can take the bus, how long it took you to get there to walk, whatever it is. And when you click public transport, it will show you how long you need to walk to said location. So whether it's the bus stop or the train station, how long it takes there, the color of the train, because there's 5 different colors, and how to get to your next location after. So with the T, what I will tell you, I rode the orange line, which I think is the easiest, and the red line and the blue line. I didn't touch green or silver. There are 5 different lines, subways, routes. So when you are on Google Maps, because we're using Google Maps, and I will do it with you here, even though I'm not in the city right now. Let's say we're at Quincy Market, because Quincy Market, like a 5-minute walk away, is the old State Church, which is now actually has the orange line in it. And if you ever are in Boston, the old State Church, the part of it that's converted to a subway, a T station, you actually can go through for free. I didn't know that until it was my second time doing it. But basically, let's say we're at the Quincy Market, where the closest orange line is the Old State Church, which is a 5-minute walk away. And we're gonna go to Tufts New England Medical Center, because I know that is a stop on the orange line. So we're gonna get on, it'll show you. You're gonna walk 5 minutes and it'll show you exactly which way to go. And then you'll hop on the orange line. You'll get on the one that says Forest Hills. So it's a little confusing because I definitely got me lost in one direction. I got on the wrong train. It's besides the point. So there is the end of each side. We'll just say this like it's a horizontal line. Obviously they are not, but we're just gonna say hypothetically. And let's say the very first stop on the orange line is the letter A and the last stop is the letter Z. There's 26 stops along the way. This is not correct, but this is for my analogy. Letter A is Oak Grove and letter Z is Forest Hills. A, the beginning, is Oak Grove. Z is Forest Hills. And this is like for every single of the 5 lines. They just have different names, like the end and stuff. So for every single orange line, there are 2 sides of the track. One, the end place when the train ends is going to be Oak Grove, and the other one, when the train ends, is going to be Forest Hill. So when you are going down, it's a little confusing, especially at the Old State Church. That's where I got lost because I turned on Oak Grove instead of Forest Hills. Basically, you're just going to see on Google Maps, it says previous date Congress here. It'll tell you how soon the train will get there and then how crowded it is. It also tells you when the next one is going to come. So from right now, the next one will be there in 20 minutes. It'll even tell you which train cars are not that crowded, which is cool, especially when you are getting on around like 4 to 6 p.m. It can be very crowded. So let's say I'm doing this route. I'm going to get on the train that says Forest Hills, not Oak Grove, Forest Hills. Okay, and it's the same for every other train. It's just I rode the orange line the most, so I understand it the best. The red line and blue line are pretty easy to, well, the red line is the most complicated, I think, but it's the same. And there's usually workers, if you get lost or something, they will help you. And it tells me you're gonna stay on the train. You're gonna get on at the state. This is the state stop. That is what it's called. You're gonna get on the Forest Hill trains because that's going in the direction you need to go. Let's just say for the sake of this, you're basically going south, and you're gonna stay on for 3 stops. It's going to be Downtown Crossing, Chinatown, and then you'll get off at the Tufts Medical Center. And sometimes it'll even tell you if you're going somewhere after this. So I put the location as the medical center, but say you're going to a certain restaurant, it'll then say take the exit that says, I think at this stop it was one exit. When you get off, there's obviously 2 exits. There's one exit that is Tufts Medical Center, and then the other will let you off on the street over if you take that exit, and that one is the YMCA. So it'll say for me, when we went to the aquarium, we went from our hotel, and then we went from the orange line to the blue line, and it says when we got off of there, it says exit through, let's just say State Street. So say I was going to a restaurant after getting off the orange line, my final stop wasn't the medical center, and there's signs literally on the wall once you get off, and it'll say this way, left for the medical center, right for the YMCA, and let's say, okay, I need to go right for the YMCA because that is where my next location is, if that makes sense. I know it's a little confusing, but once you do it, it's pretty easy. Google Maps is your best friend. And the same goes for when you're riding the bus. It's a little confusing just because Google Maps doesn't have like a perfect compass in it. So there was one time we were getting on the bus, and I didn't know there's 2 stops obviously on each side of the road, one that's going north, one that's going south, you know? And I kept going back and forth. I'm like, oh, which one is our bus? Which one's our bus? It's the same thing for the subway. What I will say, because what I'm used to, in Texas, we don't have great public transportation. You have to have a car if you want to get anywhere. So it's a real shift, and I really prefer not having a car. I will say, where I'm from, we have at every single bus station a little bench that you sit at these bus stations. If you are not standing by the pole where the bus is going to stop, they will not stop. They won't. Because unless someone like presses the button on the bus, that's another thing, you need to press for your stop. Unless someone presses the button on the stop, if you are not standing right by that pole, you're gonna get left behind. And it happened to me. I was sitting on a kind of like a little wall waiting for the bus, and I didn't realize, oh, I need to stand at that pole. So they just left right by me, and then I had to walk another 10 minutes to a different bus, and that bus dropped me off 10 minutes away from my hotel. So just so you know, you need to stand by that pole. The buses are not as frequent as the trains. Usually the trains come every 2 to 10 minutes. This one, since it is 11 o'clock over there right now, the trains are a little less frequent, but in the train stations there are places to sit, and there's elevators if you need them, and there are escalators to go, usually when you're leaving the train station. But with that, you need a Charlie card, and it is basically a subway pass, a train card, whatever. You can get a pass at every single station. I don't have mine. Mine's in my wallet, but I would recommend, it's gonna be cheaper if you just buy a full day pass or a full week pass when you're visiting, because at first we were buying 4 rides at a time, but between 2 people, that means we literally can only make 1 round trip, so it's easier to buy a week at a time. So in total, I think on public transportation for a week we spent $50, which is nothing, and we were all over that city. With that, I want to go into my next point. There are cars everywhere, but parking is a biatch. You gotta remember, Boston was built. It was one of the first American cities, so they built it before they even thought, hey, you know what? Cars are gonna exist in 100 years, 200 years, whatever it was. We should probably leave room for that. So parking is like non-existent anywhere. If you find a parking spot, you're gonna need to park and then just walk wherever you need to go. So you're gonna pay more in parking than you are in taking the T somewhere or walking to your destination. It is a very walkable city, okay? Sometimes you may be walking over the overpass. It's not really an overpass of the freeway. Everyone does it. You're gonna see a lot more people on foot. I like to compare it to New York, where like, obviously there's cars in New York, but like rarely anyone who lives in New York owns a car. It is the same thing. There's cars everywhere, but most people are walking. Most people are taking the subway. They're walking to their destination. Maybe they're taking a taxi if they're going kind of far, or an Uber, but you're gonna spend more time in traffic than anything else than walking there. If it is a far destination, you're gonna need to take a car or just plan more for public transport. So I knew my hotel we were staying in was in the downtown area, and one of the things we had to do was apartment hunt and visit my school, which is UMass Boston. So for those things we took an Uber, just because 1, I didn't want to show up sweaty, and 2, some of those locations were a little further. And then of course we took a Uber to and from the airport. There is a train station, the Silver Line, but I would recommend taking an Uber, especially for someone who does not pack light like me. So I had 2 suitcases. Ubers, they exist. They're pretty easy to get. I think all of ours ranged between $8 and $15, with only one of them being $60 because it was rush hour at 6 p.m. from the airport. A lot of flights had just come in from LA and Dallas, so that was our only expensive ride, but the rest of them were pretty cheap. The next point comes with all this walking and transportation, and that is, if you are unable to walk 10,000 steps a day, this is not the vacation spot for you. I'm saying this from someone who didn't walk that much beforehand. Or you plan to get a rental car, which even then, parking overnight is like $70 when you're staying at a hotel. So unless you're budgeting for that, and then you got to keep in mind parking 2 places you want to go, which is practically non-existent, or some places there is a parking garage. If you are unable to walk so much, even with those, you're still going to walk probably like 4,000 to 5,000 steps, even if you're using a car. But if you can't walk 10,000 steps a day, it's not the location for you. That is something I wasn't necessarily prepared for. I knew it was a lot of walking, but I didn't know it was like New York City levels of walking, where you practically walk everywhere. There also is a lot of stairs. So if you cannot do that, this is not the destination for you. It's not to be rude. It is how it is. I had ankle surgery a year ago. There's metal in my foot now. I could not do this trip 6 months ago, but doing the trip taught me, oh, you can easily walk that much. So if you can't walk that much, it's not the destination for you. Or if you're coming with little kids, prepared to either carry them or not plan as much, I would say. So the next tip is bring good walking shoes. I knew this going in. I need to bring a pair of exercise shoes and shoes that I am comfortable in to walk. There's a pair of shoes I was going to take, but latter I didn't take because they're very uncomfy. So bring a good pair of shoes that you can walk a long time in. New Balance, the shoe brand, is headquartered in Boston, so you see a lot of people wearing those. I saw a lot of Hoka's and a lot of On shoes, so those are my 3 recommendations. I took my New Balances. The 574s are the best, I think, and you see them everywhere. People are wearing like nice clothes, business clothes, and then you see the New Balances. It's because you walk so much. Next point, see if you can get a hotel near a T station, especially since this is what we're talking about. It's gonna work in your favor. So I didn't look into this when I booked a hotel, but I didn't realize that my hotel literally had a T station, the subway station, less than a minute walk from its front doors. Because I didn't realize this actually till like the second day when we kept getting off at a location, and then we were like 2 blocks over from our hotel. We had to walk around, and then one day I walked out and I was like, is that an entrance? Is that the other entrance to the T? It was a 30-second walk from our hotel. It came in such convenience. So if you are planning to take these tips, let's say I would, again, go on Google Maps. So let's say this is not where I stayed, but let's say we're gonna go to the Four Seasons Hotel, right? And I wanna go to, again, Tufts New Medical Center because I know there is an orange line right there. I'm gonna see what is the closest, how close is the T station from my hotel? So it seems here, if we're staying at the Four Seasons, that there is actually a green line, the green subway, a 5-minute walk away. And the orange line is a 16-minute walk away. So look for a T station or the bus station or whatever when you are booking your hotel. It's gonna save you so much stress. It was so convenient to be like, oh, I want to go to XYZ. Oh, there's the orange line. If you are going in the summer, my next point is you're going to need sunscreen. Point blank period. You're going to need sunscreen. And I feel like we all should be wearing our sunscreen everywhere, but you're going to need your sunscreen. You're going to be in the sun. I didn't realize it, but from one of the days I was wearing just a t-shirt like this, and the sun had seeped through my shirt and had given me a light tan in the shape where my undergarments weren't. Yeah. Just from walking around. Everywhere else was fine because I had sunscreened my arms, my face before my makeup, that sort of thing. I did not sunscreen my chest thinking that my clothes protected me. They did not. So you're gonna need your sunscreen. And on top of that, if you don't plan to wear a hat, you're also gonna need sunscreen for your head because my head was tender. I gave myself sunscreen on my scalp, right here on the crown. A little bit of sunburn on my scalp. To that, I will also say my next point is it is humid during the hotter months. So I would say spring and summer because obviously you're on water. So you're gonna need to adjust your hair and makeup routine. For me, my hair gets really big when it's humid outside. I had to adjust to that. My makeup, I like dewy, and I was sweating. So now I need to start applying my makeup matte so it'll look dewy by the end of the day. So for me, I use, for anyone who does their makeup out there, I use the Charlotte Tilbury and Rare Beauty setting sprays, but now I'm gonna have to switch to the One Size setting spray because it is hot and you don't want to look like a sweaty mess. No, you don't. And my hair, it would be styled by the day, and then by night, it was still poofy. My hair would be straight, and by the end of the night, it was wavy. So I would also recommend you need to take a hat. You can buy a baseball cap there. They're everywhere, especially since there's a lot of sports teams. They're everywhere. Something my grandma, who I was traveling with, didn't know is that the Mary Janes is legal, and she didn't realize it till like the 4th day and was like, oh, that's what I've been smelling this whole time. So just be mindful of that because you will smell it. It is legal. While you're there, you're gonna hear a lot of different languages. I've said this before, the Boston accent doesn't really exist. Some people have it, but you're not really gonna hear many people have it. You're also gonna hear a lot of different languages. So the most common ones I heard were French, Italian, and Chinese, along with, of course, English. But you'll just hear people speaking these different languages. A tote bag is my next point. A tote bag is your best friend. Random, I know, but I plan to take a tote bag. I don't know why, I just thought so. You're going to want to take a tote bag. Let me explain. I didn't see a lot of people with like their purses. I saw a lot more people with their tote bag, especially since you're going to be on public transport. So you're picking things up throughout the day. You're probably thinking, no, I'm not. You are. You're going to pick something up. So in my tote bag, I would keep my purse, my water. I always had some sort of water on me. You're going to need to carry it. And then whatever I picked up during the day. So if I bought something, I throw it in the tote bag. If I had gotten dinner, I'd throw it in the tote bag. A tote bag is your best friend. It is the easiest way to transport things. Everyone uses one. It's something just easy. I wouldn't say I didn't see like anyone use their purse. I saw a lot of people have their purses, but they were either crossbodies or they were belt bags. So if you don't want to take a tote, take a crossbody or a belt bag instead. But you're going to pick up a lot of things. You're going to buy souvenirs. You're going to want to take your lunch or dinner back when you don't finish it. It's the easiest thing just to have a tote bag where you can throw things in it. My next point is a little weird, but it's something I noticed and thought I would share. So there is practically no fast food restaurants anywhere. It is a lot more quick service sort of places like Cava and Sweet Greens and that sort of establishment, Chipotle, that sort of thing, or you're sitting down to eat. There is just not a lot of fast food. My whole time I was there, I only saw a Chick-fil-A that was like in a brick and mortar building with a micro sign in the financial district. And I saw a Burger King, like an actual one, standing one, down in Dorchester in a residential neighborhood. Those are the only two fast foods I saw there. I didn't see a McDonald's. I didn't see anything. There is like fast to go coffee like Starbucks and Dunkin', but there is practically no fast food. So if you are looking forward to that, you're not going to see it. I didn't see one Taco Bell. Also, to that point, if you are someone who needs to stop at Walmart once you get in from a trip, there is no Walmart. There's a Walmart all the way up in, I want to say, Lynn, which is not even like the Boston, it's the Boston area, but it's not Boston. I saw a Target, but if you need to stop and get stuff, it's best that you either like order it to your hotel or go to the Target. I didn't see a Walmart or anything. Like Boston feels like a very safe city, and I know the crime rates have gone down a lot. I think it actually is like on one of the safest cities in America list. But with that being said, crime can always happen. I want to say that this song, I was told on the duck tour that there is a song called Dirty Water by the Sand Dolls or Sand Dollars, something like that. That's about Boston and talks about being robbed. It's possible. But what I will say, not to say like people are dangerous or anything like that, but just like any city, I can get robbed by going to the corner store near my house late at night if I'm not careful. Crime happens everywhere. What I will say is when you are anywhere, mind your business. I'm from the South. I'm used to Southern hospitality. In the North, New England North area, that doesn't really exist. People keep to themselves. There's a lot more resting bitch face. That is my advice. When you are out and about, resting B face is your best friend. Act like you know where you're going, even if you don't. So everywhere I would go, I would have my phone, one wrapped around my wrist, just in case, as a precaution, and like this. And I'd have Google Maps opened on my phone, and I just glance down at it like this, and then walk. Walk like you know where you're going. It's when you don't know when you are going, when you can run into trouble. And the whole time I'd walk around like this. Have resting bitch face, act like you know where you're going, and just keep walking. Do not stop in the middle of the sidewalk. People will get annoyed. If you're gonna stop, move to the side. Do not do that. Also, mind your business. If something is happening, someone is screaming and hollering, and it doesn't look like they're actually injured in the middle of the road and something is wrong, mind your business. Just keep walking. Nothing will happen if you mind your business. And you know, there are times where maybe there's someone who looks a little sketchy when you're getting onto the T. Don't be obvious that you're holding your belongings closer. So I'd have my tote bag on and then my hand would be at my side. And if I saw something that like maybe someone keeps glancing at me or something, I would just hook my hand on my tote bag like this, but not make it obvious. I wouldn't like look at them and then like, no, I would just look away, like kind of like adjusting my strap and then like just hold it. That's it. Just mind your business. It's a pretty safe city from what I could gather. I'd never felt unsafe. One more thing I will mention that no one tells you. The seagulls are everywhere. Everywhere. They do not care if you're on mainland, if you are miles in from the sea. They are everywhere and they do not care. You cannot scare them. They will scare you. As someone who is afraid of birds, was not prepared for that. I don't know why I was in the middle of the damn city and there was a bird nowhere near. We couldn't see the water from where we were at and there was a bird. Yeah, so just be mindful. One more thing is with public transportation, follow the crowd sort of thing. And by that I mean there are crosswalks everywhere. Sometimes there is no car coming and the locals will just walk. Walk with them. Go with the flow with that sort of thing. It's just, again, like New York. There is no car coming or the cars are slow. We just walk. Just walk. I mean, like, be mindful, of course, but if someone who looks like they're a local is walking, you can follow them. And most of the streets are pretty, like, small. There may be 2-3 car lanes, so it's quick to get across if you do see a car coming. But there was times where I was like 2 steps from being on the sidewalk and my grandma was 5 steps behind me and there's a car coming. They're not gonna hit you. They're not gonna hit you because they wouldn't want you to deal with the insurance. So just go with the flow with that, especially at crosswalks. Now do press the button but go with the flow. So those are all my tips and everything you should know before you go to Boston, Massachusetts for vacation. I wanted to conclude this video with a couple of my recommendations. So obviously I was there on like personal business, but I also wanted to do a lot of the tourist things. So I'm going to give you my recommendation from tourist things and other things you should try out. And a little disclaimer, I am a vegetarian, so things like legal seafood that I mentioned, eating clam chowder at the market, or a lobster roll, I didn't do because I'm a vegetarian. But please do those things. That is like probably the most exciting thing to do. The seafood is fresh. So my recommendations are as follows. The duck tour, the duck boat tour, which I think only runs like in the spring and summer. It is a great way to learn about the shape of Boston, how it's laid out, a lot of great history information. I just learned a lot of general information that would be good to know living there. I think it's a great tour. It is touristy. People are probably going to look at you on the bus and quack at you. So what? It was really fun, especially since it is a land and sea tour. So you go on the Charles River. It's great. And they are all manned by people who are certified. Not by their Marines, but like they have a connection to the Marines, something like that. And if you do go on the boat tour and you choose the New England Aquarium location, Legal Seafoods is right there. So you can kill two birds with one stone. But also, if you really need to go to Legal Seafoods and you don't get a chance, there's like a dozen of them in the airport. Mike's Pastry and Modern Pastry are staples. You gotta try them against each other. I did not get to, but a lot of Boston's population is Italian. So in the North End, which is Little Italy, if you will, there are a bunch of places, Italian restaurants, that sort of thing. You gotta go to Mike's to try a cannoli. It is so worth it. There's locations all around the city, but mainly the one in the North End is where I went. It is cash only, so take your cash, and it is a little hectic, but the lines move pretty quickly, and they are worth the money. I brought one home that was all like warm from sitting in the airport. In my backpack, it was smushed, and my family still loved it. To that, there is this restaurant that I cannot pronounce for the life of me, but I'm gonna pop the name on screen. It is in Little Italy, and Mike's is a street over. It is so good. It is authentic Italian food. They have gluten-free options if you are gluten-free. The portions are huge, so you're paying $20 for a plate, but then I'm telling you, unless you haven't eaten since breakfast and it's dinner, you're not gonna finish that portion. It was huge. I got the eggplant parmigiana. It was so good. Another food location, but also experience, is Quincy Market. It is in Blue Hall, Fenway Hall, something like that. It is basically like a cafeteria. It is just one straight hallway with a bunch of different restaurants, stalls on each side. It is worth the experience even if you just literally walk down it to see it and you don't get any food. It is a really cool experience. I really enjoyed that. I actually went twice because they had so many options. What I recommend in those is Korean dog if you like boba, and Korean dogs, pretty good. And then Boston Halal, I think I'm saying that right. The mango lassi and samosas from there are so good, but there are plenty of options. In there, I also got Regina's Pizzeria, which is another place I'd recommend because it is pretty much Boston staple. The slice I got was okay, but I don't know if that's because it was already pre-made, and I just got cheese. So, but it is like a Boston staple. If you've never been to Trader Joe's like me, you need to go. This is in my vlog, but Trader Joe's is just such an experience. It sounds weird to go to a grocery store while on your vacation, but as someone who lives in Texas and like people come to Buc-ee's when they're here, you understand that it is an experience. And Trader Joe's was an experience. Another food place is Cafe Bonjour. This is where I went to before I flew out back home. It is right next to Boston Commons, which is a very big park in the middle of the city. It is like a diner-esque. It moves really quickly, but the food is really good. The smoothies are good. I went for breakfast, so I don't know how the rest of the meals are, but it's definitely a place I will be going back to. It's quick in and out service. I think we were in there for maybe 30-45 minutes. It was great, and we waited like 15 minutes, but it was worth it. And also there is a tea station right next to it, so you don't even have to walk far. The Freedom Trail is this trail that you walk. You can either pay for a guided tour or you can walk it. It is basically 16 stops, I think, and there are certain color bricks in the sidewalk that show you, and you stop on historic places. So like the cemetery where Ben Franklin's parents are buried, King's Church Cemetery, the Old State Church, Fenway Hall, a bunch of places like that to see a lot of the history. I will say though, on the duck tour, you are going to see a couple of those places. I would say maybe like 8 of those places on the tour, so you can do both, of course. So for me personally, we didn't do the actual walking tour because the day we were going to do it, it looked like it was going to rain. It didn't rain, but still. But you do get to see both. So that's cool. And it's a good place if you like history. It's a cool thing to see. The Boston Tea Party Museum is really cool if you like history. I love history. So what you see online is not everything it has to offer, because there is an actual like museum active experience underneath like the location. You just are not allowed to film or take any photos in it. It's something you have to agree to go in. That part is the most exciting part. You can go on the replica boats. You do go on the replica boats. You can throw fake tea boxes into the harbor, that sort of thing. The actual like history part of it is pretty interesting. There's this interactive, they show you this little movie and the history of it, and there's actually, they have a tea box from the original Boston Tea Party. It's a really cool experience if you like history. I don't know if it's necessarily for kids, because the little movie they show you is a little graphic, but it's cool. You don't even have to do the tour. You can go in and buy tea at the gift shop, or you can go eat at the little cafe they have. Well, not for free, but you can get in for free. And you can sit up and just look at the water like I did for a couple minutes. I got a scone, I drank tea. You can try the 5 different teas that were thrown in the harbor. That is a cool experience if you like history or just want like an interactive sort of thing, especially since your tour guides are in character. You also get like a free souvenir, which is this little card that they assign to you of who was at the party and who you are playing during the whole tour. And that's a cool free souvenir. Free because you have to pay to get in, but still free. And it's just off the side of the road. It's kind of funny. I saw it going to our hotel and I was like, hey, that's weird. It's a fun experience. I would do it again. Lastly is my new favorite thing where I plan to spend a lot of my time, and that is Tatte Bakery. It is I don't know if it's locally owned anymore, but it was locally founded. It is a bakery and a cafe. They serve full breakfast, full meals throughout the day, and a bunch of pastries and like lattes and drinks. The food is really good. I brought home some cookies for my family that were really good. The pastries are all really good. They offer gluten-free if you are. They offer vegetarian if you are. It is so good, and everyone loves it in the city. That I actually went twice. I went to 2 different locations. I went to the one in South Boston and the one in Camden, somewhere. Twice I went for breakfast and then I went for dinner. It was really, really good. It is worth it. And if you are going, the strawberry matcha rhubarb sparkling lemonade is amazing. And that is all my recommendations, and that is my guide on everything you need to know before visiting Boston and everything you should do per my recommendation. Let me know if you plan to visit, if you're from Boston, if I missed anything. I can't wait to live there full time, and especially going forward with these tips I learned. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. My socials are all linked down below if you want to follow me. You don't have to, but if you want to. I posted a bunch of pictures from my trip, and as always, as a little palette cleanser, as a little mood booster, we have the doggo picture of the day, and it is this picture of Nova. She wasn't with us today, but she's adorable. Nova's always adorable, and with the history of Boston tying with the British history and Nova being half corgi, it fits. Alright, love you, mean it, kisses, don't think stupid, and I'll see you next time. Bye! I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you